Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I would love for you to introduce yourself and share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
My name is Sandra Elidor. I am a content creator. I've been doing it for quite some time. And over the years, my content has shifted from parenting to dealing with infertility, having just those normal conversations that you have a support group or giving you some educational tips and how the journey is, so how it looks like for each person about infertility, miscarriage, PCOS, endometriosis. And I am a sufferer now. I would consider myself on the other side of endometriosis, as well as I will forever be under the infertility sisterhood umbrella.
Yes, so take us back on your journey to motherhood. Share with us your infertility journey.
My whole parenting journey. It's a book all on itself. And maybe someday I'll sit long enough to write it. But the journey started when my husband and I, years ago, we dated in high school. Unfortunately, it was one of those relationships that my parents didn't know about, you know, and we got back together as adults. We got married. We wanted to have children right away because my husband came with a package. He already had his daughter, and I got to meet her since she was 6 months old. So we got together, we decided, hey, we're going to have a honeymoon baby. We want to have a honeymoon baby. We're not going to be one of those married people that have 2-3 years of no children because we already had one at this point. So we figured, hey, we already have one. Let's start right away and have another one. Honeymoon came, went, no baby. Weeks, months came, no baby. 6 months, we're like, really? That's nothing yet? And I'm having conversation with my OB at that time, my GYN, and she's like, well, since you're, the standard, you're not 35 years old at that time, we have to wait a year. Fine, let's do a year. Got to a year, I'm like, doc, nothing, what's going on? Nothing is happening. So now we decided to explore Clomid. And we did Clomid. The first month I took Clomid, and there's a specific time or window you have to take it. I was getting such severe pain that it was hard to walk. Called the office, like, what's going on? Like, is this a side effect? No, it's not a traditional side effect. I don't know why. Let's try it again for 1 month. Fine. Try it for 1 month. Same thing. Now we decide to do an ultrasound to see what's going on. Find out I had a cyst on my right side and a cyst on my left side. We waited 1 more month to see if it changes. The cyst on the right side got bigger and the cyst on the left side started shrinking. So now we decided to do an exploratory surgery. Come to find out, that cyst on the right was the size of a grapefruit. And it's full of old blood, which what they call chocolate cysts. That's when I was officially diagnosed with endometriosis, stage 4 endometriosis. And prior to that, I was in and out of doctors' offices, in and out of emergency rooms, complaining about how bad my period is. And everybody's like, that's normal. Oh, she's trying to get attention. There's nothing wrong with her. Oh, send her back home. Most of the doctors didn't even get to speak with me. They send their nurses, and this is what it is. And I was dismissed. So that was 21 years of undiagnosed endometriosis. And the pain and the cries and the tears and the medication, that doesn't work. So now I know why I'm unable to get pregnant, why for a year I haven't been able to get pregnant. And now I finally have a name to what the pain was. Mind you, at this time I was having sexual intercourse with my husband. I was in pain during sexual intercourses. And I'm like, is this normal? Like, why is this so painful? I was even blocking the connection with my husband to get intimate because I'm like, no, because that leads to pain, and that pain costs about 3-4 days after. And now he's ready, and I'm still trying to recover from the first pain from the last time. So it was a uphill battle, and we were early in our marriage. So that did put a little strain in our marriage because the connection, I was trying to avoid it just to avoid sexual activities. And now we finally have the name, the endometriosis. About 3 months later, did a HSG, find out that my only tube, they removed one tube from the surgery. My only tube that I have left is now completely blocked. And the only way to get pregnant was through IVF. I was so disappointed. I was mad at God. I was like, what in the world? Why is this what my route? I didn't know anybody that had infertility issues, yet alone what in the world IVF is. I didn't have any family members, so I felt like I was in the world all to myself in a way, because I didn't know this new journey or how it was going to look like. So we was actually opposed. We didn't want to do IVF. Like, this is not godly. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm playing God. That's what was in my head. Thank God I did have people like that can counsel me. I spoke to my pastor at that time and explained, hey, this is what the doctor is saying, and we have to do IVF. And I felt like if I do this route and I do get pregnant and this child is driving me nuts and I go pray before God, he's going to tell me, I never sent you to have this child. That was my fear. I spoke to my pastor, and he basically, in a loving Christian way, kind of like saying, what the hell are you talking about? God created medicine. God created doctors. These doctors, yes, they have skills. It thrives from God's work. So medication and trying to get pregnant, that's not an all for all. That's not a bad thing to be able to do that. I'm like, thank God I had someone that's a Christian, because sometimes Christian could appear like, no, IVF is not this, IVF is not that. And he was the head of the church and smacked some sense into me because I didn't look at it that way. And I'm happy he did. Come to find out, they also had their own infertility issues. So it made it easier, like, okay, he wasn't just saying this just to say, he understood what it was. And that put an ease for my husband and I, and we started exploring IVF with no money. Now we have no money. We didn't know how we was going to do it, but we was going to appointments, doing blood work. And eventually we decided to pursue the process. And we did get our miracle baby. We got pregnant, but that pregnancy was a hard, challenging, another lesson on itself, because we had something called Placenta Previa, which was ongoing blood. We was just, if I sneeze, I start bleeding. If I cough, I start bleeding. I walk, anything, I'm bleeding. And we had several of them. I was in and out of the emergency room from 12 weeks. And I can't remember, we may have 1 day, 2 days that we don't have to go to the hospital within that pregnancy time. By the time I was 23 weeks, that doctor says no more. You're stuck in the hospital. Now I have to live bed rest in the hospital. And I gave birth, and I had about 8 more bleeding episodes at the hospital. And my son was born premature at 29 weeks. He stayed at the hospital in a NICU for close to 2 months. Eventually, he did go home. We were told he would have a learning disability, will be behind, and by the grace of God, I was the one that said, you know what, regardless of what it's going to have, he's going to be the well function in whatever he's able to do. So I had to be home with him because he was premature. I couldn't bring him to daycare. I had to be his sole provider at home because, you know, when they're so young, immune system is not working properly. So we were home. I give him therapy, did all of that stuff. And we now have a 8-year-old, well-functioning, smart little 8-year-old. So we're excited, and we'll be hardest if it wasn't the outcome. But I understood now why we had to go through all these roller coaster rides. And in the heart of COVID, we decide to try again, to go through another cycle of IVF. Unfortunately, before we officially started, like during the prime, I was told, sorry, we can't continue with IVF because your eggs are just not popping up. Your AMH is extremely low. So mind you, the first pregnancy, it was low then at 30. And now, years later, it's even worse. So almost non-existent. And it's crazy, right before I started getting menopausal symptoms at the age of 37. I was having hot flashes and they drove me nuts. So we pursued IVF, and most of the time they could not find my eggs, and was told, sorry, there's no way you can get pregnant. And we end up getting pregnant on our own. We end up getting pregnant on our own. I guess during that meeting, that he was telling us, where you can't get pregnant. I think I was already pregnant through the medication they was giving us to prime us. And weeks later, unfortunately, that did end up with a loss. And it was devastating. Till this day, it's in and out, of course, but that did push me even further to pursue our nonprofit, Filling Empty Wombs. So it was an idea before, was battling if we wanted to do it as a nonprofit or a for-profit, but that miscarriage really pushed it. It's like, you know what? This is what it has to be. It has to be a nonprofit. It has to be that we're giving service without having to charge, that we're giving it because we're trying to fund it, or we're getting funds in other ways for women that looks like me, women that doesn't look like me, that just need that break, that they'll be able to fund for their infertility treatment, help with bereavement during miscarriage, and even college scholarships to children born as a miracle through infertility. So that's literally almost like the story in a GIF, but was our crazy road to parenting that got us here as a nonprofit now.
So it's almost like you birthed another baby out of out of your loss experience. So the follow-up, have you all started to consider going forward in other alternative methods to grow your family? Like egg donation or adoption, or have you all considered that?
We had a conversation prior to going to the second time doing IVF, that what was our end goal, or what was the stop, what we would do and how long we would do it, to determine, okay, no, we tried and this is it. Which those hard conversations, that's hard to do. But I think everyone that's within infertility have to have those conversations. And we decided before we even entered our second appointment or first appointment of our second round, that it would be, our goal is to try for ourselves, carry our own. And if we're not able to, we wasn't going to do surrogacy or anything like that. Our next step would just be adoption. So try for ourselves. And if that's the way, if it doesn't work, we'll just do adoption. And that is something that is still open for us. As of right now, that's not something we're actively pursuing. Now, if a baby come knock on my door, yes, this is ours, we're keeping. However, it's not something we're pursuing at the very moment, but that is something we know we will pursue in the future.
Wow. So I think let's go back to you talking about endometriosis in stage 4, because I don't know if people understand the different stages of endometriosis and really what the symptoms look like, because it could be different or it could be the same. So can you explain that, like what the stages are, what stage 4 meant for you, and then what the symptoms that you were experiencing, or probably were experiencing since you started menstruating, like when you were probably a teenager, all the way up until when you were trying to conceive. Yeah. So can you explain that more for our listeners?
Mm-hmm. The different stages, a lot of people just assume that stages of endometriosis almost like stages of cancer. And it's not that's not what it is. And you can have stage 4 and have no pain, just like you can have stage 1 and have all the pain in the world. So it's literally how it looks like from the inside in the doctor's view. It's not based on pain at all, because you may have that stage 1 But once the doctor goes in, it's not as bad. It doesn't look bad. However, maybe that part of that endometriosis tissue or whatnot fell on a nerve, and that's what caused the pain. So the pain is not the level. It's basically what appears on the inside and what the doctors could determine based on what the inside looked like. Oh, you are stage 1, or you are stage 2, or whatever your stages are. So I was a stage 4. That means in there was pretty messed up. It was pretty messed up, and which was, of course, the big old chocolate cyst, which what they call the cyst that I have. Because if you burst that chocolate cyst, or drain, I should say, it looks like it's old blood, but it looks like a chocolate. It looked like chocolate lava, basically. That's why they call it chocolate cyst. However, I'm happy that it did not burst on its own, because then if something like this had to burst, that's immediate surgery and hope you make it through, because that's hemorrhaging. That's consists of blood loss, and they have to find out where this blood is even coming from. So I'm happy we found it, but I hate that it took 21 years for me to even know what it was. And all these years, the doctor make look like I was crazy. So in my pain I was textbook case of endo. So if doctors just sat long enough to hear all of my symptoms, they would have known what it was without even having surgery. I was the textbook. The only thing I didn't have was probably some people have vomiting during their menstrual. I did not have that, but I had the pain. I had the stomach ache. I was non-function. I couldn't function the day and 2-3 days after my menstrual. Going out, having a good time, going to school, work, and I couldn't do it. There was no way I could. I was a liability, basically, if I was at work to any employers. So sexual pain for intercourse, pills, Tylenol, that's candy. That was nothing. That doesn't do anything. I need something stronger in order to help with the pain. I used to, if I had like a teeth issue or had anything prior, I used to keep the harder medication and save them. So if I had some like narcotics, I would save them for when I may need 1 or 2 when I have my period. So these are surgical meds. And that was the only thing that can not even take all the pain away. It was now I was able to stand or do basic function. Could I still go to work? Absolutely not. But it was enough dosage that I can felt like I'm somewhat of a human being versus just a log that's in pain. So I had all the symptoms. You can open a book, find endometriosis. You'll probably see my picture right there because I had the textbook place, but I couldn't find a doctor at that time who would sit long enough to listen. And I had my menstrual since I was 9 years old. So 4th grade, my parents being from islands, they didn't know what this is. They was advocating for me as much as they can. And of course, there's a language barrier. So I do not blame my parents because they showed up every single month. They brought me somewhere. Like, this is not normal. But actually, I said I didn't have the vomiting. I actually did. I forgot about that. I actually had several vomiting. I passed out before from my pain, but I do not blame them. I'm happy they tried. It's just, of course, the system just didn't want to listen.
Absolutely. And I think that even then, I don't even know if we had the language, to even call it, endometriosis or, the endocrine lining, growing outside of your uterus. I don't even know if we had the specialty language from the doctors, to even properly diagnose us at 9 and 10 and 11 when we had our initial period. So, yeah, it's so crazy that, our parents did the best they could with the stuff that they had, but I don't even know if the doctors, they failed us there too.
Because even if you didn't know what it was, some of them didn't even sit in long enough to even hear.
Right.
So, okay, something's happening. You want to at least order an ultrasound? No?
Right. Like, yeah, let's do some more exams or figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Something, but just dismissing and now putting it as if I'm to blame.
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
part was the part that hurt. I understand. If you didn't know, I prefer a doctor say, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Because then I'm like, okay, thank you. I can keep searching for someone that do know. But however, when you're throwing it back at me, like, this is her. She wants it for attention. There's nothing wrong with her. She's just an attention seeker. It's like, really? You are dismissing my actual pain. So honestly, by the time I found the doctor that actually diagnosed me when we're trying to get pregnant, I didn't even tell her how my pain was. Because my mind was like, what's the point? Like, I didn't give her a chance because so many years before, they didn't listen. So I'm like, what's the point? I already put it in my mind that this was going to be my life. This is normal.
Wow. So do you feel like your endometriosis led to your placenta previa during your pregnancy?
I got it.
Because you had so many episodes, that, left you, bleeding for no reason. And then obviously on bed rest for so long during your pregnancy, I don't think people really understand how critical bed rest is, but hospital bed rest is another level. Like
Yes.
God knows, like girl,
Yes,
that's another level.
it
So
is.
did that doctors ever come back and say, hey, maybe this is related, or, have you researched that? Or I'm curious, I'm just asking because I'm curious.
I actually have asked, and they like, you know what? They don't know. They don't know. I, to me, it feels like it is only because there's so much damage that can cause from your uterus when you have endometriosis. There's so much scarring and scar tissue. And I've had 2 surgeries for my endo. So all that scarring, because what they were saying with the placenta previa is that my placenta wasn't moving to where it needed to be. It is at where basically the uterus, the ending or the exit point where a baby will come out, my uterus was there. So I knew right off the bat, as soon as I found out at 12 weeks, that the only way I can deliver this child is through C-section. Like, natural birth was not an option for me because I'll be delivering the placenta first, which can cause hemorrhaging. So I always ask that. Part of me feel like it has a lot to do with the endo from scarring, and now the placenta cannot move to where it needs to be. And part of me feels like every time the placenta try to move, that was why I was bleeding. Like, that's what I feel like. Every time it moved, it was that's another lining, like something is blocking it. So I don't know if that is the truth or if there's more research out there, but I haven't really found one that has connected to the two. But I did ask my nurse at that time, because since I was living in the hospital, I became friends with the staff. And I did ask her. She did share. She had placenta previa. It was not as bad as my case. And I did ask her, and she said she also has endometriosis. So part of me feel like there's a link. Is there research about it? I'm pretty sure there's not. I don't know for sure, but
Yeah, I don't know if it's a link in the research, and I definitely don't know. I definitely know that there's not a link with Black women with endo and placenta previa. But the reason why I asked that question is because I interviewed another lady, same similar situation. She did have placenta previa and she had endo as well. And I asked her the same question, and she was just like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, maybe there is a link now, now that we're talking about it. And it's something just to think about and definitely see how bad your scarring is. And I don't know if there's a test, an exam, or can they look at that when they do the exploratory surgeries that they look at to diagnose you with endo, or I have no idea, but it's just something to consider and think about. But I just wanted to ask because I wasn't sure based off of that previous person I interviewed. But let's transition and talk about your birthing, filling empty wombs, because I feel like this all came about during the pandemic, because or maybe you had it before then, or maybe I just really found out about you during the pandemic, because y'all were like, y'all were blowing up on Clubhouse when Clubhouse first started, remember?
Yeah.
So I would love for you to talk about just, I mean, obviously you talked about how it came about from your loss experience, but share what you all have done so far to really engage the community around loss and infertility.
Um, our infertility platform, it started in, I don't remember what year, honestly, from the top of my head when we actually started, but I always knew that this was going to be something I had to share. Like as soon as we decided, yes, we're going to go through our infertility treatment, I always felt in my back and through my bones that this is something that I will have to share. However, at that time, I didn't feel like it was right then, at least not publicly, but if somebody was near me or somebody, a stranger passed by, I didn't have no shame. I'm like, yes, I had gone through infertility treatments. Yes, because my therapy is by sharing, that I heal every time I speak. So it's for, maybe that's my selfish reasons, but I needed to, that's my mental, that's my self-care or my mental or something. But I always knew that this was going to happen. However, I didn't get the official okay. It felt like it was literally something falling from the sky. I was having a prayer moment and I literally felt like something fall in my lap, and all I heard was, it was time. And I knew exactly what it was. It wasn't like a time for what? No, I knew exactly it was time, what it meant. And I called a couple of my prayer sisters and brothers at that time. And like 2 or 3 days later, they all was at my house. We were brainstorming. None of them had infertility issues, but we were brainstorming about what was happening, what we're gonna look like, what it's gonna look like. And one of them even helped me come up with the name Filling Empty Wounds. So it was, that platform was already there, but it was just a platform. It wasn't something that was infertility related, but it was just there. It's not until that prayer came up, it's like, this is what we have to do. So we were functioning without a name. We're just functioning, talking to people, whatnot. I planned to do some kind of function and it was canceled, but I knew right off the bat, support group was something that we wanted to do. But I was battling, do I want it to be a nonprofit or a for-profit? At that time, I already had another nonprofit business that's catered to parenting education, educating parents on how to educate their students or their kids. And I was doing that on and off. But when the Filling Empty Wounds sign was like, go, my focus changed. Okay, this is mostly infertility related. I'll come back to parenting. I still do it on the side at home, but now my miscarriage forced me to make that decision based on my emotions and what was happening to me. Focusing going through miscarriaging, it doesn't exist. Like I had to sit on there. I had to battle with God. Like I was done. I was over. I was like, I don't want to cry anymore. Like I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of going through this emotional roller coaster. Hurry up and get over with. I got stuff to do. Like I don't have time for this. And it was like, no, you're going to sit in it. I'll pull up my computer. And remember, I told you, I'm a content creator. I would just create content and I couldn't come up with nothing. It was just a blank mind, blank canvas. And then someone called, someone that my mentor's assistant called me like, hey, Sandra, what are you going to do about infertility? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I want to, if you're going to do something about the infertility, I want to help you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I want to partner up or something because I have my own infertility issue. She has PCOS, she has other things. And at that time, the only thing that can pop up to my head was infertility related. Everything else was still blocked. Only thing was infertility related. And started pursuing that. And in the midst of me trying to heal, we started doing Clubhouse when it opened. And it blew. It went to something else with the support group. I was starting to heal more from there because I was speaking about it. And within last year, we finally got, I think November of last year, we finally got our documentation that we're officially a nonprofit. And I'm excited in what to come. I really, really am. And to be able to speak to women all across the world, places that I've never even heard existed. How African American in Africa are dealing with it. And we think it's a taboo here in America. It's an even bigger taboo there, to almost some people are shunned. Like, you're not allowed to talk about it or even say that you have it. Like, it's almost like you're not human because you have infertility issues. So to be able to have that connection with other people and creating a support group and we can connect, it has given me a high. Like, it's been a high, and I'm able to connect and create these friendships, business or otherwise. And I love it. I could not have done it without God. I could not have done it. And through now, like, I wanted to speak to you about this for a while. I was still in the healing process. And I'm like, I couldn't. Now I'm able to be on the other side of it and talk about it without having to go through the sadness about it and connect in a different way. So I did birth something else. I hate the process that it took to get here, the roller coaster that we had to go through to get here. However, I understand. I understood it now. I understand it now. And I understood it then why. And we're looking, and I'm excited for the journey.
Yes, absolutely. So you all definitely go follow Philly Empty Wounds on Clubhouse, if you're on Clubhouse for sure, but definitely go follow them on social. You're active on Facebook and Instagram too, right?
Yes, I'm not as active as Facebook. We do have a group in Facebook, because being a nonprofit, you're running it all.
Oh, yes.
You're wearing all the hats. So I had to, like, okay, what I can handle now, what I can do now. Don't say certain things will not ever happened. But for now, I didn't want to run myself thin. So we do have a Facebook group. It's not as active, but you're more than welcome to join that. And once, at least, once we're popping, you already be in.
So what tools or resources, podcasts, books, things that you have read and been a part of that has helped you on your journey?
My family has been a big help. When we're doing infertility treatments the very first time, there were not many books out. Social media was not something that we did. We connected through Facebook, just to family and friends from the distance to knew what we were doing. Facebook group wasn't around yet. So I didn't have those resources to really learn what infertility looks like. Yes, we had Dr. Google. However, I didn't even know what I'm supposed to be searching for, yet alone trying to get what information that I needed specifically that tailored to me. So books that helped the second time was like, what is it? My egg over. There's a couple of books. I can't remember the name right off the bat that has helped me and re-educate me about how IVF looked like. And mind you, the first time and the second time looked completely different. So what I thought I knew the first round, I was learning something else the second round. So if you are listening, don't think every IVF procedure looked exactly the same. It does not. It is custom tailored based on what you need at that time and around your age. So, but my closest thing was my family and my church. That was my resource. I have specific groups that my husband and I, married couples, that we kept updating throughout the process of our treatment, just in a group chat. Hey, this is what we're doing this week, and please prayer. So we believe in that interceding prayer, that there's other people that were praying for our behalf, because some days I just couldn't pray. I'm not gonna lie. Some days I was mad at God. Why you brought me to this journey? I'm like, why? Like, why? What did I do wrong that I have to go through this? So I was a little looking left to God for certain things, but I had other people that when I couldn't pray for myself was praying for me. And that kept us going, because they would randomly like, hey, how was your appointment today? How are things? We're still praying for you. Let us know what's giving you update. And if I didn't feel like sharing, they were okay with that. So it's having that circle was big for me, even though they never did. They don't have any issues having pregnant. getting pregnant. They don't know what the hell is IVF and infertility, how that looked like, but they knew their sister and brother needed prayer. So they delivered in that because we needed it.
Absolutely. Love that about the community. Love that about the church community too, that they were there, those special groups of people.
Yeah.
That is so key on the journey. So key. So for our listeners who are going through fertility challenges, what encouraging words can you leave with them as they navigate through their challenges for the year? They may be wanting to conceive and get pregnant in 2022.
First of all, I would say you didn't do anything wrong. You did absolutely nothing wrong. Your body did not fail you. Because that's the first thing. It's like, my body can't do what it's supposed to do. Actually, your body is probably doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It just looks different because we have this conceived notion that this is the only way you can get pregnant. And that's simply not true. So yes, your route looks different. However, if this is the route that is selected for you to have a child, you will have a child. Now, it's going to look different, but you're going to have a child. Be open-minded about it. If this is your first time, throw the calendar out the door. Like, throw the calendar out the door. Because we have this issue like, okay, if we do IVF now, we're going to get pregnant by this time, and the baby's going to be by this time. Throw all of that expectation out the door. You're going to get pregnant when you're supposed to get pregnant, or you're going to have your baby when you're supposed to have a baby. However it looks like, either through surrogacy, you delivering your own baby, someone else egg, sperm, or adoption. Whatever it looks like, you will have your baby. You're going to have your chance to hold your baby. Be open-minded. And I know it's hard to talk to others, but find someone or a couple of groups to take you along this journey, because it's hard. It's hard mentally, physically, spiritually, and definitely financially. So please don't, the enemy wants you to be alone. They want you to go through it alone and go through the process in your mind that this is not worth it. Why am I going through this? Why am I in pain? Why God? Why God? Why God? The enemy wants you to do that. Find that circle. So when you cannot do it on your own, you're able to lean on, connect to somebody that can give you some positive encouragement. And during that time, remove all negativity. Don't have negative people around you. Remove as much negativity as you can, because the negative is going to come on its own. You do not want to add more to it. But community like ours are here. Just connect. We're here. We can no longer say there's no brothers or sisters that look like us that's not willing to share. There are some of us. It may not be as many, but there are some of us, and many of them that I know, you send them a DM, they respond.
Absolutely, they sure do. Absolutely, they sure do. So where can we connect with you after this episode? Leave us all your links.
Everything is under Filling Empty Wounds. Our website is up. We're still working on it, but it is up, fillingemptywounds.org. We are on all platforms, Filling Empty Wounds, and on Twitter, due to character, it is Filling Empty Womb, WOM. But we are on pretty much all platforms. Clubhouse, we have support groups. We did take a pause on Clubhouse, and we will be back on. We do have ambassadors. So even if you don't hear my voice, you will hear one of our ambassadors hopping on. So if you, on my Instagram, you'll find out soon, and I have some posts that talks about who our ambassadors are. So you can connect with them, and they will be more than happy to talk and share with you as well if I'm not unavailable. So my journey looked a certain way. That's okay. Maybe you can't connect to my journey specifically, but there are other people in place that we will help you connect with that may have similar journeys with you.
Absolutely. Where can we follow you though? Your personal.
Me personally, it's my name, Sandra Elidor. On my platform, you'll find everything on there. I like having fun. I don't like to be in those moods. So you'll find stuff, me dealing with infertility. a little bit of parenting, not so much. I try not to put it there because I know a lot of my followers are infertility related. So I do have another platform that you'll see more parenting stuff. But me, my husband, just having a good time. You'll find that as well. My husband and I are goofballs, and I enjoy our relationship that way. So I like to have fun. I like to dance. So the world is too serious at time, and I have a nonprofit where I have to be more serious. So on that platform, that's my husa, and just to have a good time.
Yes, I absolutely love it. That's why I was like, girl, you need to plug your own platform because I love watching you. Your personal stuff. Oh, well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. And Philly Empty Wounds, you all definitely go follow this organization as it blooms and blossoms.
Yes, yes, definitely. We'll need all the love. We need you to come and find the resources that you need. We're not doing it for us, we're doing it for you. So make sure you show up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone. Good luck on your journey.